Thank you all for checking out this week's episode. Once again, I'm John. If you like what you heard and saw today, subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and check out our brand new merch store with hats, coffee mugs, t-shirts, other cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Again, thank you all for support. Be safe and see you next week. How's it going, everyone? John here, the host of Spirit Talk, and today get to welcome Nathanial Sorensen on the program. Nathaniel, not only a tattoo artist, but the main reason why I want him on the show is his work dealing with invasive species and his working relationship with the Lionfish Extermination Corp, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, which is dedicated to the protection of the Florida reefs by eradicating lionfish through scuba diving. And it's great to have you on here. I want to say, I've always, with this podcast, I've had a bunch of hunters, wildlife conservationists, and game wardens, and people that work, and sea shepherds, and I've always loved the idea of people helping protect the ecosystem. And I had no idea the lionfish was that pervasive, obviously, when you're neck of the woods, and doing more research on it, realizing it's a crazy problem. It's going into the Caribbean Ocean. It's affecting Honduras. Just had this huge press release put out about it. And if it wasn't for your really cool Tik Tok and like Instagram reel videos of you doing this, I never with no idea you're in my backwoods, so to say. So great to have you on here, Nathaniel.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was just talking with somebody right now. You know, just in the past 7 days, we've had 5 million views on our TikTok. So it's definitely getting out to a lot of people, and that's kind of the point of this nonprofit, is not only to remove as many lionfish as possible, but to let people know that they're here, and that if anybody else wants to start diving and removing them, that's an option, and you can eat them, and trying to set some things straight about this whole thing.
Well, it's like in Florida, you always hear like the Burmese pythons, and then you hear of like the iguanas, like some of these toads and insects that they're on the TV shows. And so when I came across your thing, I'm like, well, that's cool. This is a guy that hunts lionfish with a spear gun. I'm just gonna watch it for shits and giggles, and it's awesome. Not realizing the actual work you're doing. So it's like, is this one of these things where it has to get more of a bigger problem than it already is before people actually wake up and realize this is another species that is eradicating the ecosystem, the reef systems, everything in the ocean?
Well, this particular creature is especially bad for the environment. Whereas, for example, like sorry, ants crawling. For example, the iguanas, they are a vegetarian creature. They don't really cause a lot of destruction as far as the ecosystem eating things in comparison to the lionfish, but they do dig holes, and they can be a nuisance, mainly eating your stuff in your yard, your flowers, things like that. So that's, they're not supposed to be here, and they don't really have predators to take care of them here too much either, because we always push our gators away. We don't let the gators do their thing. We're so mean to them. But the lionfish is especially bad because it can wipe out every little fish on the reef, and once it does that, then there's nothing to clean the reef, and the natural predators on the reef now don't have any food to eat. And if you just let them go, and thousands and thousands of people that are doing this weren't doing this for the past 40 years, there would be an incredible amount of lionfish. So it's definitely we're making a big difference, everyone doing this. Our nonprofit, Lionfish Extermination Corporation, is only hunting lionfish, and that's period. That's the only fish allowed on the boat. We don't do anything else with any other fish. We see a great big prize grouper, we don't touch it, because that is hurting the ecosystem where we're trying to help the ecosystem.
And how did you get into this type of work?
Like you said, I do tattoos for a living. This is cool, and it's a nonprofit. It's to help the environment. It's to do good for the for the reef. Instead of just going and diving and enjoying the reef, I always bring the spear all the time. But when I first started going diving, I loved it. It was really fun and cool. And then I realized, once now my wife, she was my dive instructor, now she's my wife. She said, well, the lionfish, they're not supposed to be here, and they're really bad for the environment. And truthfully, I was a vegetarian vegan for 20 plus years, and I didn't want to kill anything. I didn't really care that they were out there at first. I was like, well, I still don't want to kill them because, just for a minute, I thought, well, I'm still killing something, so I don't want to do that. But then I came to the realizations that I'm actually helping so many more creatures, and I'm saving thousands and thousands, millions more lives by killing this fish. So even though I'm not crazy about, killing them, when I see them looking at me and they're kind of cute coming up and, who's that on the reef? And then I put a spear through their head, you kind of feel bad for a second. But you got to think about the greater good, and no matter how much it sucks to have to kill something, you're killing something for protecting millions and millions of others.
Yeah, I
So that's
remember what's the movie Deuce Bigelow where the
yeah,
male pimp has that's the first time I remember seeing it. Oh, what a cool,
yeah,
ornate, cool looking fish, but not realizing that. So a fish like that, does that just people owners just throw that in the water in the ocean, or hurricanes come through and
exactly.
knock out aquarium type stuff? Like, is that how they get in there?
Yep, and in fact, as little as 7 to 10 fish are responsible for this entire nightmare. So
Jeez.
it only took a couple of people with, and in fact, it could have taken just one person with 7 fish in their tank, and say their power got cut out, or they were eating all of their little fish in their tank and they got tired of them, but they're their pets, so they don't want to kill them, or they could have just gave them back to a pet store, but it was probably a hurricane situation here in Florida where they were like, oh crap, what, the ocean, that they can live there, I'll let them go, they're going to die if they're in my tank because they're going to run out of oxygen, I'm in a big mess, I'm going to dump all the fish out there. In fact, we've seen other species like this sailfin tang, that was out in the ocean, that's from the South Pacific as well. There's one of them out of, you look all over the reef, all of a sudden you see this fish that's like, whoa, that guy is not supposed to be here. And that's kind of how the lionfish were at first. People would see them and be like, wow, it's so beautiful and cool, like they were excited to see them. And then a little bit later, wow, I'm seeing a lot more, wow, I'm seeing a lot more, wow, it's just, they're everywhere. And then people started figuring out, wow, we got to quench this fire as quick as possible.
Now, do they have natural predators or I don't want you to talk about like the poison and stuff like that and stuff, but like
Yeah,
how do
the
they
basic
yeah.
the predator thing, people ask it a lot, and they say, well, I looked it up online, it says that groupers and sharks and eels and all of these creatures eat lionfish, so what's the problem? And the big problem is we have groupers, sharks, and eels, but we don't have the same groupers, sharks, and eels that are over where they're from. There are different species, different varieties of that species. So the eels that eat them over there, are just completely different varieties. We have this green moray, and the ones we have over here didn't evolve alongside the lionfish. So they haven't figured out that, hey, for a little bit of pain, you can snatch one of these if they're distracted and have a good meal. Over here, they get the little bit of pain and they think, whoa, I'm not going to bother with this. That hurt a lot. The white tip reef shark is I'm not a scientist and I haven't done too much studies on this, but I know I've seen in documentaries, I've seen in different videos that white tip reef sharks hunt the reef indiscriminately at night, killing anything that moves. So they're very slender sharks that can fit inside of the reef, and they don't have to keep going to breathe like a lot of sharks. So they
Right.
can weasel their way inside of a reef, and then they can wiggle back out of the reef and spook out any fish that's in there. Now, then you have the gray reef sharks over there, the little gray reef sharks, and they will come out and hunt at night indiscriminately in packs as well. Anything that is scared out of the reef. So they hunt in unison in packs of these fish, these sharks. And we don't have anything that hunts like that around here. We have solitary sharks that hunt, slowly, and they have to keep moving. And, the nurse shark, it'll eat a dead lionfish, but it's not going to eat a healthy lionfish. It's going to get poked in its snout and back off. And that's all there is to it. It's not going to go after something that hurts so much. It has so many other options. It's just going to go after something that doesn't cause it pain. If you're going to get the meal, it's, hey, let's go for it. Let's try to eat it. But they don't get the meal, and they learn quickly that it's not worth it.
Right. When some of your videos you post, you talk about like the preparation, and again, I had no idea you could actually eat those because my I always just assumed that they're just a poisonous fish like the puffer fish, and
Yeah.
learning that you can actually eat parts of that if it's properly handled. But is it one of those things where like you don't see a lot of restaurants that offer lionfish? Now I know you
Oh,
work with certain restaurants that will buy the fish and all that, which is awesome. Why not use it, right? But like, is it because it's not mainstream enough that people don't understand you could use this fish as as food for humans?
that's part of it. Another part is just it's not very common for someone to go out and get them like we do. They go out and get them for themselves. They can find, on a charter boat, you can go out and get a decent handful of fish, flay them up, and have a pound of meat for you to eat, a couple pounds or whatever. But when we hunt them and get 100 pounds in a trip, sometime, 50 pounds, now we have the possibility to sell it. But it's just, for somebody to go out and do 3 tanks and have a buddy that's doing 2 tanks and they're only looking for lionfish and nothing else, that's rare. Usually people are out trying to get a grouper, and if they see a big lionfish every once in a while, they'll go shoot that big lionfish and, end up poking themselves because they don't have the right equipment to carry it or do it. It's just they're not ready for it.
Right.
and they don't have the right equipment to handle them. We're only doing that, so it's just a rare opportunity. It's just rare for someone to be doing what we're doing, and that's why I think it's pretty important. There's several people around, but for compared to how many restaurants there are, you're not going to see it on the menu very often.
Right. Which was shocking to me. You can see being down that area all the time where it's just like all those wharf restaurants and people on the it's just I wish it's just unfortunate it's a problem that like you have to deal with down there. But the creative ways of like, yeah, you gotta kill this fish, but maybe the fish could go to a restaurant or it helps the economy that way. It's like there's cool ways to kind of go around this because I assume with a charity like this, you still have to deal with people like PETA or like groups like that that think you're going out of your way to kill fish, right?
It's not very common because the first thing they do is they'll write like in the tag, "Hey PETA, check out this guy." But then I tell them right away, I still am a vegan. The only thing I eat, I have two things that I do. I eat lionfish occasionally, which I'm not even crazy about it, and it tastes great, but I'd rather have tofu. Then I have 6 pet chickens, and as of like a year ago. And occasionally we'll eat their eggs because they're our pets. And, if they were to not lay eggs anymore, we would still, they'd be our pets. We aren't killing them. They're our babies. We love them. So those are my 2 little exceptions. Other than that, I eat a fully vegan diet. And I tell people I've been vegan for longer than you have probably been. I'm doing this to help. And I tell them the situation. And usually people don't even message back about it because they know that, hey, that makes sense. I'm saving millions and millions and millions of other fish. I've done the calculations. 100 lionfish is about how much we collect in one day. And those 100 lionfish from each trip we do, which is usually 1 a week on average, are going to go out in their lifetime of 15 years eating 10 fish a day. And that's going to amount to over 5 million fish. Jeez. So if you say 100 lionfish eating for 15 years, 10 fish a day, that's over 5 million fish that you've kept from being eaten essentially by removing these. And that's not including the eggs they're going to lay too, which is going to make a lot more than 100 more lionfish. So technically, just by removing 100, you're saving, it's an unlimited amount of fish. You're saving so many, because they can live to their full extent of their life out here. There's nothing stopping them. There's no predators. So we really need to step in and be that predator that they don't have here.
Right. What is their average lifespan?
15 years. I mean, that's how long they can live. And because nothing stops them around here, they end up living to a ripe old age. They all just keep living unless they eat each other. That's the only thing that can, lionfish actually can eat each other. But why would you if there's so many other fish you can eat and take advantage of?
And now there's no like size like restrictions in terms of what you can capture. Since it's invasive species, you can kill a baby or a big one, right?
Exactly. And there's no law. You can hunt them without having a license. But when you're spearfishing them and you're only come up with only lionfish on the boat, then you don't have to have a license to get them. So, the FWC down here can come up and say, hey, what are you fishing for? And you say, hey, I'm hunting lionfish. Then technically you don't even need a license at all. Nothing at all. I actually have a saltwater products license, but I don't need it. I can actually capture them without any license whatsoever, which is kind of cool. Now,
have you
anything else, you're in big trouble.
Right. And have you ever tagged a lionfish to kind of see like the migration route and stuff like that?
I haven't. I'm sure people have. For me, the first thing I want to do when I see a lionfish is get rid of it.
Yeah.
I want when I go visit them in the South Pacific, I just love to just enjoy them. They're one of my favorite fish. There's 14 varieties and they're so beautiful. Some of them are absolutely stunning. And I'm really glad that some of these species haven't been introduced because they would probably be just as much of a nuisance, if not more, than the red lionfish. Actually, the red lionfish is so rare on these trips that I go to, the Philippines and the Maldives and things, that I'll see only one red lionfish like in the whole trip. And I see hundreds of these other types, the spot fin lionfish, for example, a radiata. And I'll see hundreds of those. So gosh, I can't imagine if those got loose because they don't get as big as the red lionfish. So they wouldn't be attacked. They wouldn't be shot as much because, people wouldn't be hunting them as much because they get that big. So that would be an even more devastating thing to happen is if the spot fin lionfish were released here. So far, thank goodness that hasn't happened because that could be really bad. But on top of that, I think you asked us something about filleting the lionfish and things like that. Lionfish is not poisonous. Actually, it's only venomous. So you
Oh,
can
okay.
actually say you took a little lionfish, a tiny one, and you trimmed off all the tips of the spines where you wouldn't get poked. You could swallow it whole, venom and all, because venom is fine to eat as long as you're not have some weird, allergic reaction with it or whatever. But when you cook it, it's definitely fine because it denatures the venom when you cook it. So you just be careful when you're spearing them, and you have the right tube. The zookeeper tube is the best one that I've come across. You put those in there, and you can hold up to 20 pounds with the large one. You take those lionfish then, and you hold them by the lip with a pair of gloves, and you trim off all the spines that are venomous, and then you can fillet them just like that. In fact, I don't even trim off the spines anymore because I'm just so used to it. And if you do a big one, you should definitely trim off the spines no matter what, because the spines are so much longer, they're more likely to get to your hand if you're
Right.
but I use a very sharp knife, and a long knife, so I can kind of sneak in there and stay away from those spines. And you can go through them a lot quicker. It takes a long time to sit here and trim off all these spines, so it's much easier to just do it with the spines on. But I don't recommend that at all, especially for somebody who's a beginner. You want to have a lot of experience trying to do this kind of thing, because it's not worth it. Getting poked by them is like 4 hours of unadulterated hell. I mean, it's designed to hurt. I mean, it hurts really, really, really bad.
You kind of talked about it, but like the idea of if you were to take like a month off, say you and your wife wanted to go, and now I know you have other people helping you, but like if you take a week off, like that sets back the idea of this setting back the ecosystem even further without some people like you out there doing this on a daily. It's kind of it's crazy to me in terms of how quickly this thing can spread.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people doing it, and they lay a lot of eggs, but thankfully the eggs don't all turn into lionfish. Otherwise, we'd be in big trouble because they lay like 30,000-40,000 eggs every 4 days. And so,
Jeez.
I mean, they lay. That's the problem with these guys. They lay uncontrollably, and they eat uncontrollably. I've actually saw myself over 75 fish in the stomach of a lionfish at one time, and that's crazy. And I've seen from pictures people found over 100 fish in their bellies, and they eat so much here that it's actually not good for them. They actually get a fatty liver disease. Their organs are covered in fat. You can actually, when you're opening the belly, you can take out chunks of fat out of their stomach that are encased in their organs, kind of like an unhealthy American that eats too much food. Same kind of idea, but with a lionfish. You wouldn't think of fish don't show their fat. Yeah, the fish are actually unhealthy because they eat so much food, and you don't see that where they're from. Where they're from, they don't get fatty liver disease because the fish that they're eating also don't know that here that they're a predator. Whereas where they're from, the fish are a lot more timid in comparison to here. Here
Right.
that they're like, "Hey neighbor, how are you today?" And like they don't have a clue, and then they're gone. Whereas over there, they're like, "I don't know about that guy." Like everybody kind of keeps their distance. I actually tried to film them for a good distance, for a good time, when I was on this beautiful wall over in the Philippines this last time on Apo Island, and there was this lionfish cradled on a little piece of hard coral, just sitting there, patiently waiting for a fish to come by. And the fish weren't anywhere near this thing. There were tons of them, but they were way away. And they're all like, "No, no, no, that guy, he's mean. He'll bite us." So they were backing off. They didn't want anything to do with that lionfish. And here, it's the opposite. I mean, when the lionfish are seeing a group of these little small fish, these little fry, they are so entranced by the movement of these fish. They're like, "Oh, I can't wait to eat this guy." And they'll sit there, and you can shoot them right in the head, and you can look right at them and shoot them in the head with their eyes even looking towards you, and they're the easiest shot ever. But if they don't have that when they're not hunting, they're a little bit more timid. You got to kind of come above and shoot straight down into their head. Or what I do is I do the twiddle fingers to the side, and I distract their eyes. So if their eyes are looking at your spear and they see it go, they'll make a reaction. They'll move. But if you pull your hand over and do a little twiddle fingers, then they'll look at that hand instead of the one with the spear, and then it distracts them just enough to make that spear make the connection, and then you're good to go. That's one of the best things I can tell people that are having trouble tracking them down and getting these lionfish.
Like how hard was it to get used to using a spear gun?
What I use is what's called a pole spear. So it's just a pole with a rubber band on the end, and then you put your forefinger and thumb through the band and pull and stretch, and then grab a hold of the pole higher up. So you use both hands to load it, and then you have this tension of this rubber band going all the way from the back to where you're holding it, and then when you release your grip, it slides through your hand and hits the lionfish. So that's what a typical pole spear. That's also called a Hawaiian sling. Some people call it that. But that is pretty easy tool to use. It shoots straight. The lionfish typically is easy to shoot. If it's in a hole to where your only shot is straight at it when it can look at you, that makes it a little bit harder. But if you're shooting, out in the flat areas where there's not a lot of place for it to go, it's like sitting ducks. It's very, very easy to shoot them. And they're so confident that their spines will protect them from any shot that they don't really flee. Even if they've seen their buddy get shot next to them, they're so ingrained in their head that the way to protect themselves is sticking up their spines and then just chilling, that they don't even run. They just sit there and boom, one after another. Unless you graze them or bump them and they say, whoa, that could hurt if that was hitting me directly. Then they start getting wise. And then sometimes you come up to one of them and he's just smarter than the others, and you'll shoot and they can move quicker than hell. All of a sudden the spear just misses their head. Zoom, zoom. They just keep shucking and jiving. Yep. So I mean, occasionally they're pretty smart and quick and they'll run, but eventually they stop, and I've got a scooter. So they'll run and they only have a short burst of energy and they'll go hide in a hole somewhere and then you just grab them. Unless it's a big cave or something, they're pretty much going to be shot. Even little ones.
Do you carry any different type of gear or like a knife when you're down there as well? Or is it just a spear gun?
What we say in the diving industry is 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So when I catch a really big lionfish, I like to use a knife I'll hold the lionfish down on the reef with the spear that's already shot it and angle it to where I'm not going to get poked by the spines, and I'll brain the lionfish, and that will kill it. So say I didn't get it that good. I shot it, but it's a big one. I don't want to let it get off the spear. I'll pin it down from however I speared it so it can't swim away, and then I'll brain it, and then I'll shove it into the container afterwards. But you need knives on the dive. You always need 2. And the reason why is you lose one, then you'll have one still. And if you lose a 1, then you'll have 0. So 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And that goes with your regulator. That goes with your computer and your compass, everything really. Definitely with your sources of air. So me personally, I dive solo, but I have a pony tank on my back that is just a 15 cubic foot, something 30 cubic foot. And that will help you to get up from your dive. If anything happens, you just crank that bad boy on, and then you have a whole secondary unit, and you're already on your way up at this point. It's not like you're going to use that to, some people would, but to lengthen their dive. That's silly, because once you use that up on your dive, 2 is 1 and 1 is none, and now you have nothing. So everything. So you have the knife generally just to protect yourself if you get tied up. There's been times when the string that we use that holds the flag gets wrapped around your tank in a way where you can't get it off, and then pretty soon it gets wrapped in an area where you want to take care of that problem before it becomes a bigger problem. So if it gets tied on you, you just cut the line, grab them 2, tie them together, and now your line's back together. If you didn't have a strong knife, what could you do? You'd be in a lot of trouble. So yeah, I use an underwater scooter, which is a Tusa scooter, and it's a hands-free scooter, which is kind of cool. You just put it between your legs and kind of ride it like a little bomb. I don't know. And it pushes you forward from your crotch forward. So you're going side the water, and it helps you to fight those currents. We can have over 3 knots of current sometimes. And without having the scooter, you're just going to get pulled along, and you're never going to be able to get these lionfish. But the scooter, it allows us to go back and forth on the reef instead of just north with the current. Now we can shuffle back and forth and really cover a lot of the ground that's out there. So that's a huge thing. Definitely.
Your gear is pretty great in terms of like the camera stuff, the video content. It's so clean. It's like that's super vital to like showing what you do. It makes it really rad.
That's another thing I do is I have 2 cameras. I always have 2 in case one goes dead or whatever. Some issue freezes up. You never know. Or just you forgot to charge the battery, or the memory card's full. All the problems that can happen. But you just get better at using that camera. You want to be steady and slow with the footage so it's not nauseating to watch, and so that you can see clearly. The more the opposite is, it's going to be super blurry and weird, and it's not going to have very good focus. So you want to have the best content for what you're doing, and you just get better and better at it. At first, it was kind of a weird idea to shoot at the same time. So I'm filming with I'm shooting with the other.
You're carrying so much weight down. Like what's your total weight when you're in the water?
Well, it's 45 pounds for the scooter, and then I've got a flashlight on me because if you come up to the surface, say your line were to break and you're coming up away from your flag, you want to be able to flash a light, because light is the best transmitter of communication. In fact, it's a number one communication in the ocean with all the animals in the ocean. You would think it might be sound or vision, but light is the number one communication in the ocean between fish. And it's just when you're flashing a light on the water surface, you're easily seen from a long distance away. So technically, you should have 2 flashlights. Those weigh a couple pounds. Definitely, the zookeeper full of fish weighs 25, 30 pounds. And then you've got, especially lugging around with the water resistance. So I strap that to my leg and to my waist, because 2 is 1, 1 is none. So if you were to get unclipped from your waist, then it's gone. But if you have it still clipped to your leg, at least it came off. I still have it though. It's dangling from my leg. So then you just clip it back on. So that to me is one of the biggest things I can tell people that are hunting lionfish is to use a rubber, like a bungee band on your leg, and then clip the bottom of the zookeeper and to the waist as well. And that also prevents it from getting really annoying and twisting all of the time, because it's, you're moving along in the water and this thing's twisting around and flying about on your waist. So that can be really irritating. So I highly recommend you do that little number. But with the pony tank and everything, I mean, you're carrying 100 pounds of stuff down there, with your tank. And
right.
But underneath the water, it's like nothing. It's you don't feel. What you use is your BC, which is your buoyancy compensation device, your BCD. It's a basically big air sac on your back where the tank attaches to the back, and you put a little bit of air in there, and that helps to get your buoyancy compensated. And then from there, you can use your lungs in and out to keep your steadiness in the water. If you take huge breaths in and out, you're going to be going up and down all the time. So you want to keep a steady kind of lower breath. That way you're not flying up and flying down. Plus, you want to conserve your gas down there, and the scooter helps greatly in doing that, because you're not working. You're not, granted, I'm extra fat because I don't know how to do anything down there. I'm not burning any calories. But on the positive side, I'm also not hurting myself. I'm not getting into situations where I'm getting a headache because I'm overworking myself and trying to conserve air so much. So I can cover more ground with that scooter, and I can save myself, and also say my BCD were to stop working and I'm overweighted. I want to go up, I can just turn the scooter on and I can get me to the surface. So now I have another way to get me up slowly in case something were to go wrong. You can go find a big ass anchor on the bottom of the ocean and take it up, a big expensive anchor, and you can carry that up with you. If you have, you fill your BC all the way up with air, and then you use your scooter and power up, and then you can, get a nice big old anchor off the bottom. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do with your equipment.
And how long have you scuba dived, and has the technology for scuba diving changed over the years, where there's new things or smarter ways of doing stuff?
I don't know if it's smarter ways, but there's different ways. There's like rebreathers, and rebreathers allow you to not blow bubbles because you're rebreathing all the air that you're using, and you can also stay down there longer. But they have downsides. They can malfunction, and all of a sudden you have 100% oxygen going into your, I don't know all the things that they can do, and I don't want to say anything false about rebreathers. A lot of people use them, but typically rebreather divers will have the rebreather, but then they'll also have a backup just as equivalent to the rebreather, because you want to be safe in case something goes wrong. So therefore, I wouldn't use something like that because it's not needed. I'll just do my tank. It's an hour dive. That's all I really need down there. Now they've got these, I think it's called Aveo, a new system. I think it's called Aveo, but it's a new system where the tank is actually part of the BCD, where it adjusts by taking water in and out to keep your buoyancy. And that, to me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my theory. Right. That's probably great, but for when you're doing lionfish hunting, you want to keep things to what and basic, and this is how I know how to do it, and this is what I've gotten a lot of experience at doing. Before I moved here, I lived in Iowa until I was 19, and then I moved to Omaha, Nebraska for a few years, Colorado for 12 years. So I've only been out here for about 8 years, and I've been diving pretty much the entire time. I went straight to the dive shop when I got here at September 2016 and got my certification within a month, and I've been diving ever since. It's I'm not saying I'm a amazing diver necessarily. I do it a lot, and the more you do something, you get a little bit better at it. I'm not like this know-it-all technician about diving, but you do what you do and you become good at it.
Right.
And shooting lionfish, I always kind of joke is like, it's kind of funny that on my, normally when you shoot really good shots and you're hitting these tiny lionfish, you think they'd comment like, wow, I can't believe you could shoot something like that. It's so small, good shot. Like nobody ever says that. They're like, they act like it, I think we make it look a little too easy because people all the time are like, I want to do this, like it's a weekend activity, but it's
Yeah.
pretty advanced dives. We're going to 100+ feet every dive, and we're battling currents, and we're multitasking several things that we have to keep in mind, and keep our head on our shoulders to make sure we're not, getting into trouble down there. So it's not something that your common everyday diver should start doing right away without a buddy. You got to have a buddy diving. I dive without a buddy because it's the only thing I can do to do what I'm trying to do. But I recommend everybody uses a buddy, just like you're supposed to. I use my pony tank, whereas some people don't even use a pony tank. They go down with no pony tank. And to me, I can't hold my breath. I can't. You're not supposed to hold your breath, but I can't get to the surface and have enough air to not get in trouble. Whether I'll get bent or I'm gonna die, one of the two. So I don't want to do that. I want to have a backup. So I just, here's my backup, no problem. Let me go up now. I'm not gonna sit here and try to swim to the surface from 100 feet when my air all of a sudden hose blows or something terrible.
Right.
So I feel a lot more comfortable down there by myself when I have the backup. When I didn't have the backup, it's really uncomfortable thinking it's just a ticking time bomb.
Right.
Eventually it's going to happen. Something catastrophic gonna happen. What do you do then? You're not down here to kill yourself. You're down here to have a good time and catch lionfish.
When a hurricane goes through that area, like how hard, what's the reset time for it to kind of go back to what it was before? Like, what are some of the things you notice once that happens?
I've only had like one or two hurricanes come through since I've been here, and you can dive probably, I think we did it like a day after the hurricane, and it was so murky down there.
Oh, I
all
bet.
of the get back and forth and swooshed up, and it is, you don't even know where the bottom is. You go down and you poke, you're like, oh crap, that's the bottom. You're like, that's not good. So it takes like maybe 5-6 days, a week. But you'll notice things have changed down there. A lot of times fishing line that's wrapped around stuff will end up chopping all these barrel sponges in half, and you'll have all these poor barrel sponges diced up into pieces from all this old fishing line. So we try to pick up garbage and stuff as much as we can down there as well. That's part of the nonprofit, is just being a good diver and being good to the environment while you're down there, and not just taking advantage of what's down there. You're actually giving back. When I walk around the street, I pick up garbage that's on the ground and I put it in the garbage. There's plenty of people throwing it on the garbage, but there's not enough people picking it up. So down there, you want to do the same thing. When you're kind of rare. It's pretty rare that somebody's diving around 100 feet in this area. So you got to take that and say, "Oh, I'm going to go ahead and pick up this junk," even though it's kind of a pain in the butt. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up.
If people want to get involved with the Lionfish Extermination Corporation, like what's the means there? If they want to donate, if they want to, hey, I got an extra boat, I want to help you. Like, how do they get involved?
Well, I just tell people to do the same thing I'm doing as far as like what we're doing is involved. If they want to donate, they can go to my Instagram or TikTok, and there's links there to go to my Venmo or my PayPal. But when it comes to people say, "Oh, I want to do this, can you take me out?" And unfortunately, it's too big of a risk, and it's a good thing to go teach people how to do this, but you can go do it on your own and slowly learn. You don't really need somebody. I hope the videos would help to teach people kind of what I'm doing, and to be able to say, hey, I can do this. But I recommend, if you never dove before, to start diving and to get a lot of experience and get to the point to where you're super comfortable with diving, and then start taking on filming with your GoPro, and then slowly, get some good footage and keep your buoyancy really well while you're filming, and get that down to really good. And then making sure you're keeping track of your computer, making sure you're keeping track of your time down there so you're not getting into trouble, and making sure you're confident down there that you're not going to end up running out of gas trying to, oh, I found 10 lionfish here, I'm just going to say, get them and get them. Pretty soon you look at your computer and you're in trouble. So you want to make sure you're a really good diver that has a lot of experience before you start doing something like spearfishing. Otherwise, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. So just slowly get yourself there. And I don't personally have time. Our mission is to go get these lionfish and to make a difference. And if we took people out, it's also just a big liability. We have a tiny boat. There's hardly any room on the thing. It's scheduling, and I don't have time to do this stuff. But I recommend, people take those steps to become a good diver, and then eventually go do it themselves. Start up a TikTok, do the exact same thing I'm doing, make videos, talk about them. It makes me happy when I see somebody that's kind of emulating the process. and making the videos and trying to do what I'm doing. That's what this is all about. It's a nonprofit to get people into doing this. If I become, far down the list of people that gets watched because there's 12 other people doing this, to me, that's awesome. I like the attention I get on there. It's fun to we just hit over, I think it's 407,000 followers on TikTok, which is less than a year to get that many, which I think is pretty cool. That means probably within a couple of years, if TikTok is still around, hopefully it will be, because it's going to be a shame. Be a shame if it wasn't, because there's probably millions of people that make their living on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it would be like, oh, we're shutting down a big industry for people to make, to have a job. So that would be pretty silly to shut something off like that. It doesn't pay for all the bills, but I mean, maybe eventually it would. Maybe once I get 2 million followers, you never know. Maybe I could do full time with this lionfish and not have to tattoo. Just have that as my, every once in a while for fun deals. Who knows?
It's like, to your point though, like I found you, like one of the things where it's like, yeah, your content's great, but the people that they're so anti like TikTok and say what you want about the Chinese, like whatever is going on. I don't know if about it to the comment on it per se, but you look at as many shitty and dumb accounts there are, which is nonsense. There's also great accounts like yours. You learn about invasive species or civil rights or the Constitution or conservation. It's like, why not take advantage of that and like reward these people that are actually putting out really cool content like yourself?
Yeah, I think it'd be a real shame. Like you said, that people are going to be people and they're going to make stupid content. But the educational factor in YouTube is amazing for it as well. There's so much good stuff. You can't just throw it away for the bad stuff. But as far as the Chinese thing, and it to me, it's just a bit of racism, really, when it comes down to it. Personally, just because anybody can look at these videos and get the same information that they're trying to achieve. So what's the problem? Anybody can see it. Anybody can look and I can see how things go on my account. I can see how many followers, what color they are, whether they're male or female. Maybe not what color, but whatever. I can see a lot of information. And what is that? What is that going to do? They already own half of our country anyway. So like, let's just keep TikTok going. Like,
right. They already have all the farmland. Might as well take
I don't know. I think it's. I mean, go look at Instagram. In order to make money on there, you got to advertise and annoy the hell out of people. You just put videos up, and when they go viral, you make some money, and that's huge. Like, you don't have time to go do anything else when you're doing this. I do a full-time job. I just got done tattooing, and I tattoo 5 days a week, and then I go out here 1 day a week, and I make content for all the videos that I took. You can't really go out too much more than 1 day a week, because you save 3 days a week to go out. The problem with that is, if you wanted to go on all 3 of those days, the weather's going to prevent you from going out on 2, if not 3. So now you don't make enough money. Now you have 3 days off. What do you do with? You're not tattooing because you didn't schedule it yourself. So it's implausible to go out all the time and do this. If I shot every fish in the ocean, I could say, okay, I cut 5 groupers and whatever. I don't know what the rules are, but anyway, I could sell that stuff and make tons of money. But just catching lionfish, there's no money to be made, and there's no money to be made at all, really. I get donations from people, and that helps to cover the cost, so we're not having to shell out tons of money on our own. But our time isn't paid for. I'll go out, my day is 14 hours. When I go out in the boat, I get up in the morning at 6:30, and I don't get done until sometimes 10 o'clock at night. So it's between delivering the fish and filleting the extra fish and cleaning the boat and cleaning the gear and going out and getting lionfish and driving back and forth. It takes 12 to 14 hours, maybe more. So I don't get paid a dime for that. So when I do the TikTok videos, I make a little bit of money for all my time putting them into the videos, and you have to get video content by diving. So you get a little bit of money there, but really it's really more about just, it's just growing and it's doing well. And I have a passion about getting rid of this fish. If I know there's a bunch of fish out there, I can't sleep at night. I'll sit there like, I want to get out there and get them. If somebody tells me, hey, there's hundreds of fish over here, I like, crap, we got to go get these fish. We usually keep them so low that most people that are going out in these dive boats don't find a single lionfish. They're literally, before I started doing this, you'd go out and you'd see 10 or 15 lionfish on every dive. It was you every time. But now I haven't seen a lionfish all day. It's been 2 dives and not one lionfish they're finding out on the inside or even the outside of the reef. So it's making a huge difference. Just on our main pretty reefs, And then the people who go diving, they're going to take out a few more of those, and they're helping out. And then all together, all the people doing this, it's merely, we're kind of doing the dirty work, going out in the ugly spots and apprehending line before they come into the pretty reefs. And that's what we do. And then when they get to the pretty reef, I want all these guys with lionfish on the boat, the spears, to go get these bad boys for us.
How many lionfish do you think you've killed in your entire career so far?
I like to say probably 50,000 total between when I first started. And that's including all the guys that have come out in my boat, hunting them with me. And during COVID, we went out and got 100 pounds 5 days a week sometimes. It was insane. We'd fill the cooler all the way up, bursting out of the top. And I wasn't doing content at that time, man. If I would have been filming all that stuff, oh my gosh, I could have had a treasure trove of stuff. People love seeing like a whole cooler full of lionfish.
It's great.
But the better you do it, the worse you're not going to do that very often. And the only time you're ever going to fill up the cooler like that is if you go to some new spot way down in the middle of nowhere, or this upwelling event happens where the cold water pushes them in from the deep. And that happens once a year, something like that.
Right.
If we're lucky. So, it's all about maintaining the reef. You cleared them all off. Now you've got to maintain.
Yeah.
You've got to keep it on. You can't just, that's why I really don't like tournaments, because these guys just basically raise the lionfish on the reef. They tend to them like a herdsman. And they're like, oh, they're still there. Okay, we'll mark it on our map. And then they'll go win tournaments with all these lionfish they caught. And to me, you should be going out here doing the right thing, like picking up the garbage. You should be picking up the lionfish whenever you see them, instead of just trying to win a tournament.
Right.
And that's the downside of tournaments. Whenever you invite money into the deal, now you've got people exploiting it by not killing them all the time. And they're killing them. They're killing some of the lionfish, which is good. But when you've let them live all year long so you can go win a couple $1,000s, that's not helping, that much. It's helping a little bit, but it's not helping enough. I want to help. I want to do a tournament every week. We go out and we try to get as many as we can every week. Get 100 pounds, anywhere from, we get 40 to 100 pounds every time we go out. And that equates to 100 to 200 lionfish, usually somewhere around there.
Awesome.
So it's pretty wild.
Well, this has been great, Nathaniel. I appreciate your time, and I know you're very busy with everything going on. But again, thank you so much. Be safe, and one day I hope to see you bigger and bigger out there, doing all the National Geographic stuff. And it's cool to see people like you who are blue collar, who are putting themselves kind of in these positions of do what they can for the environment and the ecosystems. And hats off to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's what we're trying to do, to utilize our time on Earth to make a difference instead of just bitching about how much things suck. We got to get out and try to help. That's the big thing.
No, yes, sir. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, brother.
Oh, hello. I'm just enjoying this nice fucking candle. Anyways, I'm John, the host of Spear Talk, and I want to talk to you about nice fucking candles. We are lucky to have Nice Fucking Candles as a sponsor of the podcast. And if you use code SpearTalk15, you get 15% off your first order, or use the affiliate link below to always get your candle needs through Nice Fucking Candles. Nice Fucking Candles are 100% soy wax. They have a 65-hour burn time, maybe more if you nurse the flame a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not an expert on flames or candles, but I will say these things burn a long fucking time. You ask me about the wick. It's a double wick for even burning, which is amazing. And they come in 3 incredible flavors. I'm not sure if you're going to be eating these candles, but if you do like them, the scents are eucalyptus and ginseng, tobacco and fireside, and seaside and driftwood. Once again, Nice Fucking Candles. They are the candle company for Spear Talk. And if you love candles and need a good scent to clear out your office, your room, your podcast room, your weight room, your whatever you're doing in a room that smells like crap, use this candle. It's amazing. Thank you. Check them out. Love Nice Fucking Candles.